This is it. Entrance into the armed forces of the United States. Have you seen yourself in this picture? Have you begun to think about what it's going to be like? About how they get you started? What they expect of you? What's going to happen to you when you enter service? Before these men are sworn in, let's look ahead with them. Eventually, their service careers may all be different, but at the start, they're all pretty much the same. No matter which branch of service you enter, after you're sworn in, you start moving. You may go to a reception center for a few days and then move on again to a training center. Or you may go directly to a training center. Where? Well, the training centers are spread across the nation. Your destination might be an Army camp in Illinois, or Kansas, or Washington. It might be an air base in Texas or Mississippi, or a Navy training center in Illinois or California, or a Marine Corps base in California or South Carolina. Any of these, or others, might be your first home in service. Home. Maybe you've seen a barracks from the outside. Know what it's like inside? A room, a big room, with lots of beds, and lots of men, and very little privacy. There's a room attached that you share with all the others, something like the shower room in your high school. Home is pretty much the same in all the services. The same working together and living together and taking care of your own things. Now, what things should you bring with you when you enter service? Just the things you'll really need: socks, handkerchiefs, underwear. Just enough clothing to last the day or so before your uniform is issued. And bring your toilet articles. If you forget something or need something, you can always have it sent from home. Or you can get it at the exchange. The exchange is like a department store. Here you can buy almost anything, from toothpaste to fancy gifts for your family, to the latest books and magazines. Exchanges are common to all branches of the service, with the same range of things to buy. Look around. And this is the place where you can pick up a snack. Of course, you'll take your meals in the mess hall, where you'll probably eat more heartily than ever before in your life. Wherever you may train, there'll be facilities for relaxation and entertainment, such as movie theaters, and recreation centers where you can relax with your friends and meet new ones. Telephone service is near at hand, and places are provided for writing letters home, which is something you'll want to do. Religious services are provided for all, and chaplains are there to counsel you. That first night in barracks, your head will be full of questions. But it'll help you to remember that nobody expects you to know the answers. And it'll help you to remember that the training center is fully equipped not only to train you, but to take care of your needs, on duty and off. A serviceman needs a uniform. This is a part of the processing routine you'll go through before you actually start training. You'll be issued a uniform that fits you, and you'll be expected to keep it neat. Winter clothing, summer clothing. Dress uniforms, work uniforms. You'll be outfitted from boots to cap. And that plaid shirt, you'll mail that back home. You may be given a short haircut. Some places do, some don't. But they all give shots, inoculations. These protect you against certain diseases and infections, such as typhoid, smallpox, tetanus. For all the jokes, this isn't really so rugged. It's only a minor event in your service career. Classification. Here's where they find out about your abilities and aptitudes. You'll want to do your best on these tests, for they become a part of your permanent record and help the services in making assignments, and later as a basis for picking specialists and officer candidates. You'll have a personal interview, too. They'll need accurate information about any work you've done and about your education. Here's where your educational background really counts. That's processing. In the first few days, you'll be inoculated, uniformed, tested. You'll learn how to make up your bunk in a particular way. And you'll start learning how to take care of your things, to be completely responsible for yourself, to adapt yourself to the routine of life in the service. You'll soon begin to feel more at home, and you'll find yourself forming new friendships, some of which may last all your life. These are some of the things that will happen to you before you really start training. Training begins with fundamentals. You'll make mistakes, plenty of them. Don't worry about that. Nobody expects you to know much about this job. But they do expect you to pay attention, apply yourself, and really work at learning what you're here to learn. Early training is pretty much the same in all the services. You learn how to drill. You learn how to recognize various insignia of rank. You learn how and when to salute. You start building up your body fast. You learn how to handle the weapons of your branch of the service. And then you go on to learn the skills of your particular specialty, so that you'll be able to serve effectively in the armed forces of our country.
I, your name,
I, Joseph,
do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the United States of America.
That's it. When your turn comes to stand up and take the oath, you'll know what's ahead. You know that you'll have some adjustments to make in your manner of living, but that millions of men before you have successfully met those adjustments. You know that wherever you're sent, the services are ready to provide for your needs and look out for your welfare, while training you to fulfill the responsibility that is yours when you enter service.
I'm going to turn on the speaker because I'm doing a test. I'm going to actually transition over so you can see. Hi. I have to turn off the volume over here, otherwise it's going to go nuts. Okay, crazy delay. I'm back. Anyways, I'm gonna take these off too because they drive me nuts. Hi, I'm Skip Elsheimer. This is hilarious. All right. I'm Skip Elsheimer of AV Geeks. I collect old 16mm educational films, and if you see, there's one right there above my head. That was an educational film. I have over 25,000 of them. I'm going to rewind it as we're talking. Today in the United States, it is Veterans Day, where we honor our veterans, the people who served in the military. And so I thought, what a great thing to do, which is to show military training films that were shown to people in the military. And we'll talk more about why that's important to AV Geeks. AV Geeks 16mm films and actually 16mm projectors owe a lot to the military. And I'll talk more about that later. But the film that we just saw was a part of a series called Are You Ready for Service? And it was made by Coronet, and it was shown in schools. And this is basically during a time period that young males were drafted. And so pretty much after high school, if they didn't go to college, they would get drafted. It would be random, of course. But the series explains what's going to happen, what it's going to be like, how to prepare yourself. It's fascinating because we don't have a draft anymore in the U.S. And so the idea that you just finished school, you might try to get a job, but really you might just end up getting drafted and sent to Korea or Vietnam is that what these films are trying to prepare you for. But it's unnerving. It's unrealistic. For me, it's unknown. And so it's fascinating for me to watch these films. Also, some of it, I was using this as a kind of a sound check film, but at the beginning there is a kind of a note that a disclaimer, as it is. Let me see if I can find it when we get back to it. Let's see. Switch over real quick. There's not music or anything, but there's a might not have it. I might have totally misspoken. I did. I totally misspoke. Some of the other ones have a disclaimer, which basically
Entrance into the armed forces of the United States.
Downer, that basically say we're not responsible for what happened. And so it's kind of fascinating to see that. But thanks, guys, for joining me. It's a Monday. I know normally I do screenings on Sundays, streaming events on Sundays. I had a bunch of stuff happening, and every Sunday this month was filled up with something. So I felt like, well, I definitely want to continue doing something at least once a month. So why don't I do it on a Veterans Day? So there we go. Here we are. All right. So wide variety of different films that were made for the military. People in the military. Let's see what we got here. I think I might show you some famous cartoons that we are going to revisit. This was very popular, World War II. And it was something that was kind of meant to boost morale, but it was also imparting important information for soldiers, people in the military. This is Private Snafu, and these are two cartoons that were made and released with the Army Navy news magazine that would come out, I think, once a month. And these are using animators, which you might know, Warner Brothers animators, and there's even gags that seem to repeat with the cartoons that you've seen. So here's Private Snafu with the two films. I'll just let you discover. Enjoy Private Snafu. And as, of course, you know, Snafu stands for Situation Normal, All Fouled Up, or whatever F word you want to use.
So cold it would freeze the nuts off a Jeep.
We're standing tonight on the old campground. Give us a song to cheer our weary hearts, a song of hope. There's no place like home. There's no place like home. Be it ever so humble, there's no place like
home. They got it soft back there. They don't even know there's a war going on. Back in my hometown, take my old man. He's probably down at and more. I know what she's doing every afternoon. All afternoon. And Grandpa, he never did a day's work in his life. And my gal Sally Lou, she's probably out with some other guy at this identical moment.
Oh, my darling, what big eyes you have.
Jeez, they're loafing, playing, while I freeze up here. I wish I could see them. I'd tell them a thing or two.
Technical Ferry, first class, at your service. Okay, Snafu, maybe you got something there. Brass monkeys, but it's cold. Now let's take a look at the lazy-wazy home folks. Suppose we look at your old man first.
grow, don't it? And that grandpa of yours. Yeah, they thought I was too old for this job. Don't bother me a bit. Shut them up in the
Sally Lou has joined the wax.
We're working like hell in the old hometown.
They're working in the old hometown.
Working in the old home. Gosh, I didn't know you cared. Woo-woo.
The enemy has fled, abandoning the area. As our forces move up, they must exercise great care. Every object is a possible booby trap. Some booby traps are more alluring and ingenious than others. If you are a boob, you will be trapped.
Wish the hell you'd shut up. I ain't no boob and I won't be trapped. I wonder, could this be one of them there booby traps? Could be. Boy! A piranha! The hell with it. I never could get that last note anywho. Boy! Tobacco! You know, I ain't had a good smoke in years. Hiya, Toots. What cooks? Something new has been added. Booby traps. Safe at last. Yeah, that's it. That's it. Well, at least up here, I don't have to worry about no booby traps.
So that gag with the playing that song, and I don't know what the song is, but playing that song and messing it up and then messing it up, it shows up in so many Warner Brothers cartoons. There's one with Daffy and Bugs Bunny where they're competing on a stage, and Daffy booby traps a xylophone, I think. There's the same thing that shows up again with a Wile E. Coyote and Roadrunner. And in both cases, what happens is, so Bugs Bunny's playing the song, keeps playing it wrong, and then Daffy Duck is so upset that he goes out, pushes Bugs out of the way, and plays it right, and then blows up. Same thing happens with Roadrunner and Wile E. Coyote. So these gags, they got it recycled. But yes, Warner Brothers animators did this. Mel Blanc does the voices, who was in Warner Brothers cartoons. It's fascinating to kind of see this show up. And I've got another cartoon, which I'll show later in the screening, that is another Warner Brothers cartoon, but it's not Snafu. It's actually interesting. If you're Warner Brothers cartoon aficionados, especially ones of Chuck Jones, you'll be interested to see this one because it's very rare. Anyways, so I'm going to rewind this film. I'm Skip of AV Geeks. I collect old school films, 16mm films, and I show them to people in different ways and places. And one of the ways I do this is streaming online, and I actually am doing it live. So I'm actually going to start rewinding, turn off the sound. It's not so annoying. So the film is actually, this is a telecine. So what's happening is the film, I'm rewinding it, but down here is where there is a camera that's aimed at the frame, and every time a sprocket goes through, it flashes. And so that's why you get a still image. So, and then I have this hooked up to a box which converts it to an MPEG-4 stream, and then I use open broadcast software to send it to Restream, which then sends it to Facebook and to other places, YouTube as well, and Twitch. Hey people on Twitch, how you doing? I wonder if I have anybody that is actually following me on Twitch. No, I don't. According to Restream. Oh well, I keep doing it because every once in a while somebody is like, "What is this? This is awesome." Usually someone older who is sick of watching people play video games, watch them play Call of Duty, and instead they're watching military films made for people in the military. Let's see what else we got. Got a lot of films to choose from. Here's another one in the series, the Are You Ready for Service? I think this is a good one. It kind of talks about what happens when you're in the military, kind of acclimatize you for what you're going to experience once you're drafted or once you enlist. Again, these films were made for boys in high school or in college, to try to get them ready for what was going to happen. And this is post World War II. This is actually after World War II. So this is Military Life and You. Enjoy.
Hut, 2, 3, 4, Caden!
1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Put around.
Here's a familiar sight in any military installation in the world. If you're a young man thinking about what military life is like, you're probably thinking you'll be doing a lot of drilling. And you will, especially in your early weeks of training. No matter what branch of service you might get into, no matter what other specialized training you receive, you'll spend a lot of time learning how to drill and drilling. Even the ladies do it, and do it well. You may have wondered why the armed forces put so much emphasis on drilling. This isn't the way a modern army goes into battle, so what are they training for? Now, it does look good in a parade, but then this isn't what men are being trained for, to look good in a parade. Of course, they do look good. Somehow you know that whatever situation they're faced with, they'll give a good account of themselves. They'll meet the job and do the job as good soldiers. And these men are learning to be good soldiers. For one of the main characteristics of military life is discipline. With all the other skills a soldier learns, discipline, which began on the drill field, pays off here. In the same way, discipline learned on the parade ground pays off here, when men of many skills must click as a team. Discipline learned in camp pays off here. Discipline learned on the ground pays off here. And discipline pays off here, when you're on your own, and your imagination plays tricks on you. Or is it your imagination? And you wish you were safe in the rear somewhere, and you feel like running away. But you don't run away. You've got your orders, and you stay at your post to protect yourself and your buddies. Now, it's a long way from that sentry post somewhere over there to this room somewhere in the USA. But over here, we'll find a boy who may someday be over there. This is Kurt Johnson. Like most boys, Kurt takes a dim view of discipline. He calls himself a rugged individualist. But what does that mean? Suppose we do a little thinking about Kurt and about you. Is this so-called rugged individualism, or is it self-discipline? Maybe you don't want to get up, but you have to be at school on time. So you get yourself up and get yourself ready. Maybe you're in the habit of making your bed and straightening your room. Maybe you've taken on other responsibilities around the house. Think about them. Aren't they disciplines you've accepted to make it easier for your family to live together? Oatmeal. Maybe one time you didn't like it, but if you learned to like it, you practiced self-discipline that made meals go better. Yes, chances are you're under more discipline than you realize. Of course, that rugged individualism may still show through.
Kurt, why hasn't this been fixed yet?
Gee, Dad, I was going to, but there have been so many things going on.
Kurt, we had an agreement about this. Will you come straight home from school this afternoon and fix it?
Gee, Dad, not this afternoon. Some of the fellows were going down.
Either it's fixed by dinner time tonight, or the car stays in the garage tonight.
Oh, Dad.
Well, what do you do in a case like that? If you snap out of it, take it in your stride, and do the job, that shows you've developed the self-discipline that characterizes a man. If you keep on sulking, feel sorry for yourself, then you've got some growing up to do before you enter service. In service, you get up. There's no time to fool around with a so-called rugged individualist who's feeling kind of sleepy. There are a lot of men here with a lot of things to do. Your first responsibility is to take care of yourself and your things, and do it right. Good old Mom won't be there to pick up after you. If you're finicky about your food, get over it. With a lot of mouths to feed, the cooks don't make it fancy. Just good, solid food. One thing more about military life. You'll take orders. However you reacted that time when Dad ordered you to do that repair job, in service, you'll take orders and carry them out. No matter what your assignment is in service, you'll take orders every day. Some orders you'll understand, and some orders you won't understand, but you'll still follow orders. You'll do what you're told, when you're told, how you're told. And it won't do you any good to protest or complain or feel sorry for yourself. Some of the orders you'll follow are in the form of rules and regulations. Maybe, like Kurt, you've been wondering how you'll get along trying to follow so many rules and regulations. Well, let's think about that. Will it really be such a new experience? Haven't you been following rules and regulations all your life? And you might as well admit it. You know they're necessary. What kind of mess would this corner be if people didn't follow the rules? You see, as long as just one person is involved in something, he can do pretty much as he pleases. But whenever people get together to do something, we need rules. And you know what we call a man who doesn't follow the rules. He's a poor sport. And the soldier who doesn't follow the rules is a poor soldier. Because he shows no respect for uniform regulations, you know immediately that this man is a poor soldier, don't you? This man wears his uniform with pride. Take your pick. Which kind of serviceman do you want to be? Military courtesy. That's another part of the same deal. Standing up, saluting, saying sir, these are the ways a military man shows his respect for his superiors. Think of it much as saying good morning to a neighbor, or your teacher, or your boss. For of course military courtesy is based upon common, everyday civilian courtesy. In fact, military life on the whole is not basically so different from civilian life. We learn discipline from the time we're small kids. We stick to rules and regulations whenever people have to do things together. They aren't hard to learn. We learn them quick when we need them. Rules for baseball or for soldiering. The important thing to remember about military life is that it's a life for men. The best way to get ready for that life is to grow up. Here's what we mean. Maybe you'll be ordered out of a game. You won't like it, but you know it would be childish to get sore or quit, so you follow orders. Discipline, self-discipline, is the difference between a child and a man. And discipline is the difference between a mob and an army. Discipline, which means your readiness to conform to the requirements of your leaders and your service. Think it over. If you're going into service, you'll want to do a good job. Military life is strict, but it's made up of the same elements that enable people to work together in civilian life. Courtesy and respect, rules and regulations, right and wrong ways of doing things, and so-called rugged individualism giving way to discipline and teamwork. Those are the things that spell out military life.
So there was the disclaimer at the end. See if we can find it. I'm going to rewind it a little bit. Oh, that's interesting. Cornet assumes entire responsibility. I have never actually read this. I thought it was just saying, like, we're not responsible for your life if you lose it. Entire responsibility for content of the series. No responsibility should be assigned to any of the organizations that furnished consultative service. Interesting. All right, well, there you go. Yeah. Sorry about the rolling frame. That was when the film shrinks, begins to shrink a little bit, then the perf holes don't completely line up right, and so it ends up rolling on this machine. I have other scanners that are better at this, but this is something that's shrunken, so I wouldn't be able to run it through a projector, which is why I got this equipment, so that I can still watch it or show it to folks without damaging the film. Yeah. See this lazy guy? He's not going to be a very good soldier, is he? And your mom's not going to be there for you. So, get with it. Such a great series. Lots of stuff to choose from here. Lots of stuff. This one is called Taking Chances. And this is part of a collection that I have been acquiring myself, which are VD films. And there were certainly a bunch of VD films shown, made for the military. And this one's a relatively tame one compared to some that I have, which are absolutely horrifying. Oh yeah, so I was gonna say, well, you know what? Let me show this first, and then I'm gonna pull some visual aids about why military in World War II made my collection possible. There's a whole story there. But anyways, so VD, taking chances, is the metaphor for having lots of unprotected sex is explained here in an interesting way at a carnival. So, enjoy.
Liberty. Another payday liberty. First time after a long cruise. Many of our men are ashore tonight. All good men. I ought to know. I've seen them in action. There's Drake, third class. Pretty good man. And Mercer? Been in the Navy about 8 or 9 years. Knows his way around. Swanson? Well, he's the easygoing type. Solid as a rock of Gibraltar and just as dependable. And on every liberty, there are a couple of men like Adams and Kennedy who don't know what to do with themselves. Kennedy now, he's a bit green. And Adams, well, when they separate the men from the boys, he'll probably be with the boys. This isn't what you'd call a rough port. But medical officers can expect casualties from every Liberty party. Cut heads, the broken bottle stuff, and VD. I wonder who'll get into trouble tonight. Not Drake, I'll bet. He should have learned to use his head by now. But it wasn't so very long ago. We just dropped the hook in our home port. Sure enough, Drake, like everybody else, wanted to get ashore fast. So when the chief told him tough stuff, he had to stay aboard, he got in to see me. Took a bit of convincing that the Navy never gambles when it comes to controlling the spread of disease. Gonorrhea is infectious. Drake thought he'd been cured by that first shot we'd given him a few days before. I explained one single shot didn't mean we were 100% sure he was cured. Even with our new medicines, we can't be absolutely certain. That's why keeping him aboard was protection for others. I guess when he first came in to see us, Drake was chipping his teeth. He noticed a typical drip from his penis, but he couldn't believe he'd actually caught the clap. Said that he'd wash well with soap and water as soon as he could. Well, washing does help, but at best it gets off only the germs on the outside. But what about the gonorrhea germs that got inside? Soap and water doesn't stop those fellas. Gonorrhea germs are tricky. Short time after they entered Drake's penis, perhaps in a matter of minutes, that little chance Drake thought he took became a big chance. Because they multiplied, really multiplied, until there were thousands of them. Same kind of a thing happens in a woman, but she may not know it. Drake said he urinated right afterward. Well, that probably washed out some of the germs, but certainly not all of them. Any more than a dozen douches a day would wash the gonorrhea germs out of a woman's body. Those that were left kept on multiplying in the lining of the urine canal, buried there in the soft lining, where urine couldn't wash them out, or prophylactic chemicals couldn't get at them. Germs buried in the lining irritated it and formed sores, and it's those sores that cause the pus discharge or drip, which is usually the first sign. It was a good thing Drake was smart enough to come into sick bay as soon as he noticed that drip. By reporting early, he'd avoided complications, and lucky for him, we were able to cure him. Drake might have prevented the germs from getting inside his body by using a shield. The doctor protects himself from germs when he examines a sore. Of course, the only sure protection against VD is to avoid exposure. Well, I think maybe Drake has learned about taking chances. Not that Adams, though. He still has a lot to learn. He hasn't been burned yet. He's probably got dolls on his mind tonight, and he's the type that's liable to take almost any kind of a chance. Mercer was a gambler, too, once. Only Mercer found out he'd picked up something far more serious than gonorrhea. Must have been all of 6 months ago. That second examination showed just what I suspected. Mercer had really lost the gamble. It was syphilis. And he didn't even have sense enough to blame himself. It was the same old story. She looked clean. But Mercer forgot that no one can see the germs and sores inside the woman's body. We had positive proof that those germs by then were inside Mercer. Syphilis germs from that sore on Mercer's penis. As in gonorrhea, it may take only a few minutes for syphilis germs to penetrate during sexual intercourse. A few minutes. But by the time Mercer noticed that little sore on his penis, there were millions of syphilis germs all through his body. And with syphilis, the big question always is, what damage are they going to do? If they lodge in the spine, they can cripple for life. When the germs strike the eyes, blindness. When they settle in the brain, insanity. And when they attack the heart, death. Naturally, Mercer was plenty worried. But we told him none of those things need happen to him. He'd reported promptly after noticing his sore. At least he'd used his head that time. So with prompt reporting, modern treatment, and proper follow-up, we have a very good chance of curing him. Continued periodic tests will show us for sure if Mercer's okay. But he certainly found out that his health isn't something to gamble with. Anyhow, they know the facts now. It's up to them. Wish they were all like Swanson. He didn't need to get burned to learn. Just good common sense. But Adams, well, I'm not so sure about him. Or Kennedy either. After all, it's their liberty. It's up to them what they do with it. A lot depends on the type of people they meet. A man with dolls on his mind can always find somebody to help him make up his mind. Make a choice between sticking with his own buddies or taking a chance. I wonder if Adams and Kennedy are smart enough to know the score. Well, the odds are 1 out of every 3 pickups, 4 out of every 5 prostitutes have it at one time or another. Heads, you win. Tails, you lose.
Oops. It caught me off guard. There's no leader on it. Yeah. There you go, VD. Slowly working on a book and or film about the history of VD films in the United States. Certainly the military. The first VD films were made for the military. First one was in 1918. This last one was 1952. And I don't know, maybe they're making new ones now. They should be. So anyways, I was going to talk about briefly why World War II and the military were important to the 80 Geeks film collection. Well, it's because during World War II, 16mm film was used extensively. That was one of the easiest teaching tools. It was easy to do lectures. It was easy to show lots of different things to thousands and thousands of people without having to fly knowledgeable people all over the place. So, the military ordered a bunch of 16mm film to be made, but they also ordered a bunch of projectors and equipment. And so after World War II, there was all the surplus projectors, and they basically passed them on to schools in a lot of places. And so schools were in position to show 16. They had a lot of, even like the poorest schools had the opportunity, they had the equipment. And so that meant that there was this big boost. Instead of schools spending money on projectors, they were spending money on films. And so, and this is evidenced in, I have a collection of periodicals, thanks to Rick Prelinger, called Educational Screen. And in the 40s, this is 42, excuse me, you can see everybody's advertising stuff related to the war. Mobilized for victory. Every 16mm film must be mobilized for victory. Every school in the United States is invited to Ideal's Home Front Offensive. And it's a program that can be shown in schools and other places. What else do we got here? So certainly there were films that were being distributed. Fight on Marines, some training films. Let's see what else. There's some really, really over-the-top ones. Oh, here's how to fighting the firebomb. Fight that fire. Millions have seen fighting the firebomb. And you see an ad right here. This is fascinating, which is basically saying that all Holmes projectors are now going to the U.S. government for the war effort. So it's like, hey, we used to make these, but we can't because we're being patriotic. Of course, all of these entities were looking for those lucrative contracts with the military, so they weren't hurting. Yeah, all of these projector manufacturers are saying, you know, here we are. Like, here's another one for Victor. What a great name, Victor. Training for Victory with sound motion pictures. So, yeah, the boost and the golden age of educational films in the 50s for school films was in the 50s, and it was because there were all of these projectors, surplus projectors out there. And what's interesting is the military and other entities would repurpose also footage from a lot of these Army Signal Corps films, other of these films that were made for the military, repurpose them and show them in schools as well. So there's a lot of mechanic, auto mechanic, engine mechanic, electronics. I have several of those in my collection that are meant for people in the military, learning about oscilloscopes and learning about basic electrical theory and stuff like that. So there you go. It is what we owe because of the soldiers and because of the people in the military. I have 80 Geeks. Well, I should also say, since it is Veterans Day, thank you to all those that served. All those that served in the military. I am somewhat of a pacifist. I do not usually support aggression stuff, but I do support the people that fought in these battles, and that's important because those people sacrificed a lot. And two of those people, my father and my stepfather, both gave up their life, not their life, but their youth, to fight in Vietnam. And so they lost something. And I feel that what they got in return wasn't great. I mean, they're both on getting VA benefits, which I appreciate, but there was, they have psychic damage from what they experienced there. And that's rough. And lots of people experience that because war is really shitty. So please support them. And even if you don't support what they fought for or why they fought, please support those individuals who gave of their time. All right, that's the end of that. And I have films about that too, but that's Memorial Day. Whole thing about Memorial Day. All right. This is a crazy film. This is a film that came out, I'm thinking late 80s, early 90s. And it was after, I want to say this is probably after the base in Beirut was bombed by terrorists. This film is about how to survive terrorist attacks on military people that are stationed abroad. It is a fascinating film. And like I said, made in the 80s, maybe even 90s. I don't have a date on it. So this is Terrorism, a Survivable Threat. Enjoy.
And on the other rules of engagement. All right, men, that covers the use of deadly force. If there aren't any questions, draw your weapons, head for the ready room, and take your post. Oh, one more thing. Since you men were on last, you'll notice that we've laid some new concrete barriers in the area in front of the ambassador's office. Be extra careful on post. The embassy has received some new threat warnings, and they're checking it out now. Okay, that's it. But do me one favor. You're all professionals, so take care of yourselves, because I want to see every one of you back in this room for the next briefing.
Excuse me, Gunny.
Myers?
Are you going into town after duty hours?
I thought your nights were filled with more excitement than just driving around with some staff NCO.
Oh, come on. I've got an image to maintain. Can I hitch a ride?
Meet me in the parking area at 1600.
Thanks.
1600 is when I'm leaving.
Right.
Let Mommy ramble.
That's wonderful, Emily, but would you please go wash your hands for dinner? Honey, dinner's ready. Sweetie.
Barb, I want you to take a look at this new deadbolt lock. Now, I went to a lot of trouble to put this in, so I want you to use it, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And when you go out, I just want you to lock the bolt in place. Simple?
Piece of cake. Your talents never cease to amaze me. Now, let's eat. So, is that all the security stuff left to do?
Well, let's see. deadbolt, window locks, exterior lights. Yeah, I guess that's it. What's for dinner?
It's very special. It's a secret, honey. You're gonna love it.
In the jungle, the mighty jungle, the lion sleeps tonight. In the jungle, the quiet jungle.
Base to Unit 4.
That's the uniform.
Yeah, Mitchell, stop by here after your last pickup. I want you to meet one of the new guys. Maybe you can show them a few driving techniques on your way home.
Sure, Sarge. I'll be there in a couple of minutes.
Roger. Thanks, Brian. Base out.
All right, Unit 4 clear. 'Cause the lion sleeps tonight. Pom, pom, pom.
For the mailroom to pick up. But be sure one of your people signs out on each piece. If a bomb were to get through, it wouldn't matter who screwed up.
No problem, Master Chief. You know, you're a good teacher.
Well, if you do something a long time, it gets easier. Your husband picking you up this afternoon?
Yes, he is. Steve and I are really lucky being stationed together. There's so much to see and do here. It's a really interesting place.
Most areas of overseas tours are interesting places to be. A foreign assignment is a chance to see things you've never seen before. Enjoy new experiences. Get a taste of a new culture.
Honey, what is this?
Eggplant parmesan.
Have I had it before?
Yes.
Did I like it?
Yes. It's your favorite. And yours too, Emily.
It's a time when you can enjoy yourself and make new and lasting friends. Limiting yourself to an activity within your own duty area is wasting a great opportunity.
Man, who was that girl? Oh, just some jogger, Myers. Oh, come on, tell me, who was she? Did you get a number? Oh, man, she was a beaut.
Yet in some parts of the world, terrorism is a daily threat,
Well, when are you going to set her up?
especially for U.S. military personnel.
When you're old enough, Myers.
If you forget that,
Oh, it's a beautiful day.
your one good day
Sure is.
could be your last.
Yeah, what do you say we take a drive in the country? Sounds great.
I just have to check it in the mail. Still looking?
Yes, ma'am, still
looking. Let me know when you find that. There's something else I want you to do.
I sure will, ma'am.
Great.
Terrorism can occur anywhere, at any time. If you work in an office, you're limited in the measures you can take to protect yourself. A lot depends on just thinking about what you're doing.
Hiya, sailor. What you doing for dinner? Sounds like a nice place. They have candlelight and soft music. You're on. You picking me up? You're terrible. Great. Same time? Same place? Me too. Bye.
Whenever you drive, you're especially vulnerable to a terrorist attack. So keep your car well maintained and don't go out alone.
How you doing? Couple oranges. Yeah, 3.
Even in apparently safe situations, always be on guard to the possibility of surveillance.
It's okay?
Yeah.
You want a bag?
No.
Oh, okay.
How much?
4 pesos.
Is that enough?
Sí, gracias.
Thanks.
Okay. Adios.
Try not to take roads frequently traveled by military personnel.
All right, down here, what you want to do is check out the whole vehicle very carefully. Because a lot of times, if someone's left a bomb, things just don't look right. bomb. Check the hood. Make sure it's still closed, doesn't look like it's been tampered with. Check the doors, make sure they're the way you left them. Do the same with the gas cap, the trunk. Look inside real carefully. There can't be any suspicious objects or wires in there either. Now, before you get in, check underneath. If anything's hanging down or things don't look right, forget about it. Doesn't harm the idea is to get away alive, no matter what they throw at you. Well, what if we're followed? Well, if you can, you try to get to what they call a safe haven. Like your own installation or maybe a civilian police station. Yeah, but what if they're right on us? Nothing to it. Go around the block. Try to shake them. Then you head for that safe haven again. Yeah, but what if they try to cut us off? Hit the brakes. Put it in reverse. Fake them out of their socks. Great, great. Put a few cars between you and the bad guys and keep on moving.
Just like in the States, your home is the place where you feel most secure. But you're only safe if you take the same precautions you'd take anywhere.
I hate these late night shifts.
Me too. Oh, will you check on Emily for me?
Okay.
Absolutely.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I bake some bread.
Oh.
For you.
Oh, thank you.
Wine?
Oh.
Welcome to the neighborhood.
Oh, thank you very much. What's your name?
Anna Maria Livon.
Oh, I'm Barbara.
Barbara.
Yes.
Hollywood?
No, I'm from Waukegan, Illinois.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Husband, armed forces?
Yes.
Good night, baby. See you in the morning.
For the little girl.
Oh.
What you call?
Sucker.
No. A lollipop.
Right. Well, thank you very much.
Yes. Goodbye.
Bye. Bye-bye. That's wonderful. Oh. Hi. Guess what just happened? Most wonderful lady just came by with a welcoming gift. Yeah, she brought me bread, wine, and all. A little gift for Emily, a little sucker. Bye, honey. I'll see you tomorrow.
See you, babe. Tomorrow.
I love you. Oh, Greg just went to work. Anyway, it just made my day.
Overseas, U.S. military personnel are always easy to spot. But don't make it easier. Maintain a low profile. There's no need to advertise.
Look, I was showing off back there.
Yeah.
You don't need to do that. The important thing is to move when something doesn't look right. You don't need fancy driving tricks.
Okay. You need a lift?
No, I'm catching a bus down there.
All right, see you tomorrow, Mitchell.
All right, tomorrow.
Sure hope that heater works.
What do you think?
God, she's gorgeous.
That's not what I meant.
Maybe you're right.
Let's get the hell out of here.
Everything you've just seen is based on fact, but it didn't have to happen. Gunnery Sergeant Mike Hernandez and Corporal Jim Myers remained alert when driving, but they forgot to stay alert when they encountered something unusual. If they'd reacted more quickly, they could have gotten out of the kill zone.
What do you think?
I don't know. I don't like it.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Working in an office presented different problems for Lieutenant Kathy Riley. She was careful to work away from a window, but she got into a routine.
Same time, same place. Hi, honey.
If she hadn't been predictable, she never would have become a target. Sergeant Brian Mitchell knew all about evasive driving techniques, but he forgot to remain alert. If he'd remained on guard in that crowded bus stop, he could have survived.
Grenade!
And Captain Greg Taylor? He kept his house well secured, but forgot about his car. If he'd remembered that his car could easily become a trap, he would have lived to enjoy another day.
What? Huh.
Terrorism is a real danger, and that fact isn't going to change.
Fire,
So be alert.
Ready? Aim! Fire!
Maintain low visibility.
Aim! Fire!
And don't be predictable.
Aim! Fire!
You can survive the daily threat of terrorism by taking a few common sense precautions so that you simply never become a target.
On behalf of a grateful nation, this flag is offered as a token of appreciation for the distinguished service of your beloved one.
So that was made for the Air Force by a company called Goal Productions, which threw a bunch of films in a dumpster, and somehow I ended up with them through a long, circuitous path. They were based in LA, I think, and they got rid of a bunch of stuff. And so they did some stuff for Air Force, including the scintillating U.S. Air Force urinalysis program, which talks about how they're going to test all of their acting members, service members in the Air Force, how to check their pee for drugs, because that was slowly becoming a problem in the 70s and 80s. And so there's lots of footage of scientists holding up test tubes. And it's kind of funny. Anyhow, again, showing military films today because it's Veterans Day, and I'm sure there's lots of people that are in the military. I mean, they're still making videos to this day as training, because it is still the most efficient way to educate. And there's also computers that probably software and testing that's related to that, but video is still super effective and cheap in comparison. So if you like what you're watching, there's ways to help out the AV Geeks. One way is to go to avgeeks.com. You can buy DVDs there. Also, you can donate at patreon.com. Patreon's kind of like a tip jar subscription service where you can tip a little bit over a period of time, like a couple of bucks a month. And it's not that much for you, but it adds up on my end, and it allows me to do things like purchase more films or pay for gas or shipping of more films. And potentially there is a giant collection coming my way. Giant, it's like 2,000 films. So, the money will go towards gas and renting a vehicle, and, spending the night and all that stuff. So, thank you. Thank you for your support. Thank you for watching AV Geeks. And another way you can support us is just watch and share and tell your friends and family and say, hey, you should check this out. This is a crazy thing that happens every month. Speaking of which, I haven't figured out what I'm doing next month. I have to look at a calendar, which I will do during this next film. This is a good one. A very special man. This is a Navy film. It's trying to encourage sailors to take certain types of training, and in this case, it is electronics, and their approach is pretty hilarious. For girls. So. And also getting more pay and a better job. I think my stepbrother took electronics in the Navy. Maybe even nuclear engineering. I'm not 100% sure. These are questions I should ask at Thanksgiving family meals. Okay, anyway, so this is a very special man. Enjoy.
Bob,
Huh?
the radio still doesn't play right.
Huh?
That's funny.
What's funny?
Well, a guy signs up for 6 years in the Navy, a zillion weeks of training in electronics, and still a gal can't get him to fix her radio.
I'll fix it before I leave.
Great. Dear Bob, thanks for fixing the radio. It was very nice of you. It plays just fine. I think you're a very special man.
It is pleasant to agree with an attractive girl. And in the case of Bob Wilson and hundreds more like him, the Navy does agree. These are very special people, filling very special needs. They are the ones who make it possible for today's ships to see, to speak, to hear, to compute, to fight with the weapons of modern war on or under the sea. Very special men indeed, members of the advanced electronic field, vital parts of the electronic nervous system of the modern Navy.
All hands to quarters for muster, inspection, and instruction. All hands to quarters for muster, inspection, and instruction.
All right, men, we've got division duty today. Jones, your ET duty. Division, stand good.
Weapons Department, Old President, County Board, sir.
Very well. Very well. Gentlemen, today we have been anticipating a rise tomorrow. You'll inform your leading petty officers that 0800 observers will arrive to conduct an operational readiness inspection. As you are well aware, an ORI is an annual competitive event used to grade us against other ships of our class. Cunningham is the best ship in the squadron. Let's prove it. Questions? Post.
Operational readiness inspection, the time when every area, every piece of equipment is measured against the unrelenting standard of combat readiness. When you and your team prove the day-by-day efficiency of your own efforts.
Martin,
Get up to the bridge and check out the captain's radar repeater.
Okay, right away.
You all set on the main power supply checkout, Graves?
Looks all right to me. Reads okay on the test equipment.
Good. Let's keep it that way.
And that's the way it goes. Here, and in the nerve center of it all, the Combat Information Center, where all the systems come together, where each serves the other, and all serve the total organism that is the ship itself.
Yes, Martin. What is it?
Maybe you better have a look at the captain's repeater yourself.
Something wrong?
No, I don't think so.
All right, let's take a look. Looks all right to me.
It's just that it seemed to come up a little slow. That's all.
Well, it's nothing to sweat over, Martin. Is there something else on your mind?
I was wondering if you might have a little time when we're through with our checkout. It's a personal matter.
We're just about checked out. Coffee? On the mess deck. Say half an hour?
Fine.
Combat Information Center, where when the chips are down, the ship is fought from, where each electronic system feeds the others, and all together feed the demands of the ship itself to carry out its mission. CIC, where you and the other very special men, the ones able to analyze, test, repair, and maintain the electronic nervous system, find a man's place doing a man's job.
How you doing, Martin?
Thanks for coming down, Wilson.
Glad to be of help if I can. What's on your mind?
It's about my future in the Navy. When I enlisted, I figured on putting in 4 years and then getting out.
Yeah.
I had qualifying marks for the advanced electronics field, and my counselor even suggested it, but
6 years seemed like a long time, right?
Right. But after working with the guys in the radar gang, I'd like to put in for the full treatment.
You'd like to have some idea of what you're getting in for. Is that it?
Well, after all, you've been there.
In that case, let's begin in the beginning.
Okay.
If you had gone in at the time of your recruit training, Martin, you would have extended your 4-year enlistment to 6 years. Why? Because to develop the kind of man this Navy needs, that's the required time. As you know, you could come out wearing an electronic technician rating, like mine, a data systems rating, a fire control technician rating, or his missile counterpart. Whether you hack one of those, or instead a gunner's mate missileman rating, a rating as sonar technician, a missile technician, or finally a communications technician, the accent is on one word, technician. Not a glorified screwdriver mechanic or repairman, but a man qualified to use test equipment, to analyze a problem, and to make the necessary repairs or adjustments. And you get a top-flight education in electronics, one that you can't buy anywhere else in the world. Oh, yes. You get something else, too. Call it challenge. You'll get it first in your A-school instruction, all the way from initial theory to practical work. Most of it on the same kind of gear you'll find on shipboard. One thing you will learn, and fast. The men doing the teaching are men who have been there, through school, in the fleet, and most of them called back to instruct, the way I could be myself, or you could be, someday. They have only one goal in mind, to make you able to do one of the big jobs that this Navy needs done. They know that when the chips are down, your discipline, judgment, and knowledge are going to be the things upon which the skipper of the ship will often have to depend. And when you move on into your advanced schooling, you'll specialize in communications, or in data systems, the brains for all the other systems, or radar. You work with the same gear you find aboard ship, and you get the same kinds of problems, months of them. Use the test equipment to find the problem and analyze it. Study it out in the schematic. Get it operating again and again, until you can do it in your sleep. Or the way we might have to do it in the ORI tomorrow, or in actual combat conditions.
Sounds like a rugged course.
It is, but it's well planned. Do your day's work every day and you stand a good chance. And you can go a lot further. From advanced school, you can move into one of the C schools for training in specialized operations or maintenance. Another 8 to 16 weeks. So that when you are ready for the fleet, you have the finest electronic education available anywhere today. Slice it any way you want. You've got everything going for you. A career in the Navy, and an education good enough to put you well up the ladder if you should decide to go back to civilian life later on.
Bob could go on for quite a while, and if he did, here is one of the major points he would make, as made by the officer in charge of the school.
You men are here because you are the best the Navy has, the best the country has to offer. To answer the question, every one of you in this room who completes his work here and maintains a clean military record should be a first-class petty officer at the end of his 6-year enlistment. Some will make it sooner than that. The Navy is not only willing, but anxious to promote you. It has invested hundreds of millions of dollars into the finest electronic equipment. It needs men to keep it running as it was designed to run. You are those men. You can move up faster in this field than in any other field in the Navy. You may become eligible for a college program sponsored by the Navy, leading to a commission. It might interest you to know that the majority of the officers in this school came up through the enlisted ranks. All of us, at one time or another, sat in a room such as this. And the opportunity is available to you. The only limitation is the limitation that you place on yourselves. You take on a big responsibility to yourself, to your shipmates, to your commanding officer, to the Navy, and to your country. You're going to work hard, because if you do...
You find out one thing, Martin, that nothing but yourself stands between you and any goal that you choose. More than anyone else, the Navy wants you to succeed.
Well, there's just one thing bugging me.
Yes?
Can I hack it? Can I make it?
I thought you were going to ask something new. Every man who begins the advanced electronic training course asks himself the same thing. You? Well, you've already shown through your test that you're qualified to join a select group of very special men. And if they've hacked it, there's no reason in the world why you shouldn't. Good luck.
People have a lot of names for ships, but to those who know and work them, a ship is an organism grown to do a special job. And the way that organism works depends on the men who work her. For without the men, a ship is a lifeless thing. With them, it is an eager, willing part of an overall capability called the Navy. To see where the ship is going is a primary requirement. With radar eyes here, backed up by other eyes here in the central nervous system, through which all information must flow from the air, from under the sea, from hostile and friendly elements in this operation. Information coordinated used, and distributed to the entire organism.
Aye, aye, sir, right away. Martin!
Yes.
Stand by the phones. Bridge repeater's giving trouble.
Okay.
Electronic control, shifting phones.
You wish there had been no trouble, but as you move toward the bridge, you figure the problem, sort out the possible answers and alternatives. You wonder, is this a true breakdown, or is it a test set up by the inspectors? You will never know the answer to that one. You hope it is an adjustment. It is up to you to know. You have seen this before. It is an adjustment, not overhauled or repaired, and you work. And you work quickly and well. You know what you're doing. Once again, the ship has eyes to see with.
Will function properly now, sir.
That was real fast service, Wilson. Thank you.
As the ORI wears on, the nervous system functions as it should. Seeing at long range, at intermediate range, at target range for approaching aircraft. Answering the attack problem with information computerized, calculated in microseconds to meet the airborne threat. Preparing to fight back through electronic information supplied by gunfire control. Bearing its weapons against undersea attack, sensed and calculated by the electronic nerves of the ship. And coordinating the maneuvers with other ships through the voice of electronics, radio. And when the operational readiness inspection is over, secure the gear, put it on standby. You know that your ship is ready to meet any situation, and you wonder if your ship will wear the Navy E for competence. Because if it does, you know that a lot of the credit goes to a team of very special men, electronics men, men with a great responsibility in today's and tomorrow's Navy, and opportunities even greater, opportunities open to you now, today.
We missed you at the beach this weekend. Everyone says hello. Thanks again for fixing the radio. I still think you're a very special man.
That was 1968 when that film came out. It's very possible my father, he was in the Navy at the time. He might have been shown that film. Or he might have shown that film. Very possible. Alright. What are we looking at time-wise? Alright. We got this great film. The Decision is Yours. Hold on. I have a webcam on top of never really kind of figured this out. That's perfect. There's so many factors that go into running this thing, and they all transpire. And my hair is one of the factors that yeah. So there's this webcam. I'm happy with the quality of it. It does do this weird zoom thing, focus thing, which I could probably disable if I sat and actually read the manual for 15 minutes. But it's the way it's positioned. It's very. I can just accidentally nudge it and it just kind of falls over. Again, sure, some duct tape or something would let this happen. Yeah. I didn't look at the calendar, so I still don't know when I'm going to do something. But after this film, I'll definitely look at the calendar. I'm actually putting together a show, a computer show in Raleigh, and I won't actually be there. I'm actually putting it together, making a file that will play in my stead, involving old computer films, which I've done. I think I've done a screening here. It's called "When Computers Are Young," and anyways, while we're watching this and while I'm looking up dates, you guys want to throw out some potential topics to show? You know, look back and see what I've done in the past. I'm not going to do something I've done this year because, you know, I had 25,000 films. So I'd like to watch some new ones I haven't seen before. I had my intern pull this film and he was flummoxed by it. He wasn't sure that this was going to be shown to people in the military, but I think he was expecting World War II people dressed in camo in trenches, as opposed to a 70s young guy in contemporary clothing. All right, so this is decision is yours. If there's a topic that you would like to see me do, maybe in December, let's not do Christmas. I've done a Christmas the last couple of times. But yeah, put it in the comments, and I'll see if any of them resonate with me. Enjoy.
Dear Bill, I don't exactly know how to begin this. All I know is I sure wish you were still here and not back at that Navy base. I need you, Bill. I need to talk to you. You see, I feel sure I'm in trouble. Know what I mean? I'm 3 weeks late. Something that's never happened before. And I've thrown up the past 3 mornings. I know Mother's suspicious. She hasn't said anything yet. But I know what she's thinking. Oh, Bill. What am I going to do? I don't want to have a baby.
What's the matter then?
It's just
you really don't, huh?
Oh, Bill, I do. I really do.
Then show me.
Oh, Bill, what are we going to do? I know you don't want to get married. And I don't really either, I guess. But what else can we do? I can just hear my parents now.
No, Mary, how could you have done such a thing?
I'd like to get my hands on that boy. That's what I'd like to do.
Oh, Bill. How could you let this happen to me?
Well, you sure screwed things up. What's it doing to you? How do you feel about this? Confused and guilty too, maybe?
Yeah. I can't figure out how it happened. I thought those things are supposed to work.
Maybe you were... Besides, no birth control thing is absolutely foolproof. Didn't you know that?
I didn't. I'm learning.
Look, man, why don't you leave him alone? He's had a little bad luck, that's all.
Bad luck? You call getting a girl pregnant bad luck?
So maybe things didn't work out the way we expected. Could have happened to anybody.
Yes, it could. But it happened to him. And it didn't have to happen.
Yeah. I know just what you're gonna say. Bill shouldn't play around with girls.
Well, he didn't have to carry it this far. He knew when to stop.
Yeah, sure he did. You're always trying to stop him from having a good time.
Now, that's not true. I only try to stop him from doing things he'll be sorry for later. Will you look at him?
Look, will you two guys just knock it off? All you're doing is making me more confused.
Hey, get with it, man. I don't know why you let yourself get so upset. Anybody can make a mistake.
Yeah. Then why do I feel so bad?
You know why. Because accident or no accident, you're not very proud of what you've done. Deep down, you know that there are values, like self-respect, honesty, decency, the commandments that everyone has to live by, that are important to you as an individual and to people you're with.
Values? That's Sunday school stuff. Come on, Bill. You're living now, and now is when you gotta live. If it feels good, do it.
Hey, waitress, bring me some more beer.
Okay, just a minute.
You still giving advice? Haven't you got him in enough trouble?
Listen to the man. You don't dig. Bill here, he's just trying to establish his own sense of identity. It's all part of a master plan. He's young, he's healthy, he wants to try things out, to live a little. Right, Bill?
I'll go along with you there. But that doesn't mean hurting yourself or other people.
I say it's his life. Let him have fun.
Yeah, but your idea of fun is full of traps and problems. Well, to go along with you, a guy really has to...
God. There's Joe. I told him I had the duty tonight.
Look at Bill over there, all by himself. I wonder what's gotten into him lately.
I don't know. He sure isn't his usual cheerful self. Something's sure eating him up.
I'd say your idea of fun is cutting in on the kind of fun Bill really needs. Look, if he listened to you, he wouldn't control anything he did. Look at you, always with a cigarette. Is that what you want him to do? Even though it's bad for his health and can even shorten his life?
It's your job to tell him things like that. Mine is to help him have fun.
Bill, you've already seen how your fun can come back and haunt you. It's like that with all your habits. Take smoking. Remember when you checked into sick bay with a cold? What'd the doctor say?
Okay, Bill, you can get dressed. You've got a honey of the chest cold.
Bronchitis, really. And you're aggravating it by smoking. You say you're going through more than 2 packs a day?
Yes, sir. I guess so. I've been kind of tense lately.
Well, you're going to have to knock off the cigarettes till we get this chest congestion cleared up. Maybe by then you can kick it entirely.
Maybe, but I doubt it.
Well, it's your decision. But let me tell you something about what smoking does. Many older people suffering from breathing difficulties, chronic bronchitis, emphysema, lung cancer, and heart disease have smoking to thank for it. Actually, lung cancer occurs 20 times more frequently in cigarette smokers than in non-smokers.
Okay, now a deep breath, deep breath, deep breath, deep breath, deep, 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 deep. Take it in, take it in, take it in, take it in. Now push it out hard. Push, 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 push.
Now, Mr. Walters, 2 months later, as you can see, your heart hasn't changed much, nor have the lungs, except for right here in this one spot. There's this big circle with a hole in the center of it, right in the middle of the left chest, right about here. Now, it's come very rapidly in only 2 months. This is what we're worried about and why you're here. I understand you're a smoker, is that correct?
Frankly, when you see how many people are sick because of smoking, you'd be a fool not to quit.
Well, I gave him up for a couple of weeks.
And to help get rid of that cough, how come you started again?
Why don't you lay off? What he needs is to forget his problems, not be reminded of them. You and I ought to do is get good and smashed.
There you go again. Getting bombed never solved anyone's problems, and it won't solve Bill's.
Okay, Clean Jeans. If you don't want any beer, we'll take care of it for you.
I'm not against Bill having a couple beers. I think it's a good way to relax. But when you start talking about getting drunk, we're right back to what I was saying before, losing control.
Hey, cut it out.
Look at that guy over there. Is that how you'd like to see Bill solve his problems?
So the guy's a little obnoxious.
To say the least.
Yeah, but he's having fun.
That's your style of fun?
I don't see anything wrong with getting a little blasted. He's not hurting anybody.
No one but himself. You know what the shrinks say.
Unfortunately, a lot of younger people start drinking because it makes them feel grown up. The fact is, to be grown up, a mature adult, you need to act responsibly. And too much alcohol makes a person act irresponsibly. Of course, many people today use alcohol occasionally, having 1 or 2 social drinks with friends. There's really nothing wrong with that. The trouble comes when social drinking changes into drinking as an attempt to escape from the problems of everyday life. You can tell when this begins to happen. You begin to drink more frequently. You start drinking alone. You gulp your drinks. You sneak drinks. You drink early in the day. You begin to lose time on the job. You experience periods of temporary amnesia. You lose control of your behavior. You say things you have previously suppressed. You behave differently. You may finally lose consciousness. When liquor is repeatedly used to this extent, there's little doubt that the individual is sick. He's become an alcoholic. In a similar way, the person who tries to handle the everyday problems of life by using or even experimenting with drugs may soon find that not only has he not solved his problems, but much worse, he's become saddled with the more serious problem of drug addiction. Getting hooked on drugs is one sure way of lousing up your life, of making each day a hellish nightmare. Cures for drug addiction or for alcoholism aren't easy. Much easier is preventing it, using self-control right at the beginning.
Self-control. That's the way to do it.
Okay. I'm not completely stupid, you know. I might smoke a little and have a beer or two, but, well, that's it. As for drugs, well, forget it. As if I don't have enough of a problem already. No thanks to you.
I keep telling you, man, it was an accident. An accident. Why should it happen again?
You're right, it won't. If Bill uses a little self-control with girls. You're so blinded by a liberal philosophy of life. You don't see how the things a person does today affects what he'll be tomorrow. Things that can affect his whole future. His education, a good job, even a marriage.
Live now. Tomorrow will take care of itself. That's my motto.
Sure, that sounds fine, but it's how you live that counts. A person has to live with himself first. If Bill isn't satisfied with what he is, or what he does, then what is he really living for?
Nothing but fun, brother. Got it? Fun. That's what he has to live for.
No wonder I'm so screwed up, having to listen to you two guys fighting all the time. I'm gonna go talk to someone who can help straighten things out for me.
It's no wonder you're confused, Bill. It's a confusing world we live in. Day and night, we're bombarded with reminders of sex, liquor, smoking, even drugs. It all gets pretty unreal. You know, Bill, it's easy for young people to get lost in this jungle that surrounds all of us. But, Bill, you have to recognize that it's all a big sell. Life isn't like that. And deep inside, son, you know it. Now, look, it's quite normal to question how you want to respond to all this and what kind of life you want for yourself. All young men do.
Yeah. But most of them haven't gotten themselves in a bind like I have.
No, but they could. They have the same things working inside of them just as strong as those inside of you. Only most of them have learned to control it better than you have.
Believe it or not, Chaplain, this was the first time I ever had a girl.
Well, it only takes once.
But it just doesn't seem fair. I mean, everyone else is messing around.
Everyone? Out having a great big orgy?
Well, yeah. Just listen to the guys in the barracks talk.
Well, big mouths are the last ones to believe.
Yeah. But all I know is, when I go and try and find out what it's like, well, look what happens. The first time, can you beat that?
So have you learned anything?
Yeah. But I didn't want to get Mary pregnant. But what's a guy supposed to do for sex? Well, if he doesn't get it with a girl he likes, well, either he goes out and looks for a pickup or a prostitute or does something like...
Like masturbate?
Yeah.
Well, that's not the answer, and you know it. Masturbation can't hurt you physically or make you insane or anything like that. It's just not what I'd call a completely satisfactory sexual experience.
But what's a guy supposed to do?
Look, there's no one answer. There's no one style of behavior that'll suit everyone. But before you decide, get all the facts. Right now, you're in the prime of your life. You're seeking independence from your parents. You're physically and sexually mature. But you're not ready for marriage. You have your Navy service to think of and perhaps more education later on. A career to plan for. At the same time, there are always sexual and other influences that need to be controlled. There are lots of things to help you control them. You can pitch in and do especially good work in your job. You can take part in sports and other physical activities. You can develop whatever creative talents or interests you might have. And you can enjoy girls without going all the way. Now, will it be activities like these that help build your self-respect? Or will it be ones that tend to degrade you? The decision is yours. You can let yourself drink too much, or ruin your lungs, or get yourself hooked on drugs, or let your natural feelings about sex develop unnaturally, or be turned to women who will give you satisfaction for a price. You can do all those things if you're willing to pay the price of possible damage to your health or to your own self-respect. Here's where a physical danger enters the picture. VD. Whores and pickups are easy to come by and can just as easily infect you and leave you with a different set of problems. Unless thoroughly treated, VD can cause serious damage to your body. It can make a simple act like urinating an excruciating experience, and unless completely controlled, can eventually lead to sterility, or even crippling, blindness, heart disease, insanity. And you can pass it on to another girl. The girl you marry, for instance, and give her the same problem, but worse, because it's harder to find and cure.
You and the doctor sure make a good case for playing it cool, Chaplain.
There's an even stronger case, Bill, and you've made it yourself with Mary.
Yeah, but I don't like to think about it.
You're going to have to think about it. It's bad enough that your own future is at stake, but look what you've done to her life. Can you imagine what she must be going through?
But, Mother, I'm sure Bill will marry me if I ask him to.
Oh, that's all we need is someone like that for a son-in-law.
Is marriage what you really want, Mary? What about your plans to finish school?
The only thing is, I'm not sure if he really loves me.
Loves you? How could he love you? Only had 3 dates with you. 3 dates? Oh, brother.
Love really takes getting to know one another, honey.
You can say that again.
And you and Bill just haven't had that chance. It may come in time, but marriage is no place to experiment.
Don't you know that half the teenage marriages end up in divorce? And you want to know why? Because you kids get out there and start fooling around, and you end up having to get married. And it's wrong from the start. I don't know what's gotten into these kids today. I wish I could...
You have to decide, honey. Your father and I can only help you with it.
What do you want me to do?
Well, I don't see how you can have it here.
Your father has a point, Mary. And don't you think it would be less embarrassing for you? I've asked around, and I found a place that can help us. We'll take you there just as soon as the baby starts to show. And you can stay there until it's born.
I don't want to go to a home for unwed mothers.
But, honey, they take care of everything. They even see that the baby's put up for adoption, and you never even have to see it if you don't want to.
Oh, Mother, I'm so ashamed.
It's usually very lonely for the girls in a home like this, Bill. Awfully lonely.
Your name is Wendy? Where are you from?
From a little town about 100 miles from here.
When do you expect your baby?
In about 3 months.
Does anybody know?
Nobody knows.
Not even the baby's father? Why haven't you told him?
I try, but I just can't.
Do you care for him? Does he care for you? Then why are you afraid to tell him?
Well, I don't want to make him have to marry me because now I got pregnant. I just didn't know who to turn to.
Well, maybe we can help you. Let me tell you about this place. This is a home.
Well, they do everything to help the girls adjust to their predicament, to restore their self-respect, to keep them busy learning new skills, acquiring new interests, gaining new insights of themselves. But it's not like home. It's not like living with a husband you love, sharing the joy of the new life developing inside you. In place of love, there's regret. In place of hope, heartache. But if you want to know about real loneliness and heartache and despair, Bill, you have to see the children who have been brought into this world illegitimately. Children hungry for love and attention, living daily with a longing that someone from somewhere will love them and take them from here into a home with love in it. Can you picture your child here?
Good Lord.
You can marry her.
I don't want to get married, Chaplain. Well, I'm not ready to get married. And if I don't, and Mary decides to keep the baby, can they make me support both her and the baby?
Oh, yes. At least the child. Until it's 21.
Oh, boy, whichever way I turn, it'll sure mess up my plans for more schooling. You know, Chaplain, I kind of like Mary. With a little more time, I might have gotten serious.
Well, what you did when you dated her was pretty serious.
But she was wearing this bikini, and I just couldn't help myself.
Bill, every act that you perform, everything that you do, accumulates one upon another to make you what you are, to make you what you will be. Now, you can choose between actions that you're proud of and ones that you're not. And the same holds true with dating. Now, self-control is just as important in dating as it is with everything else. It's even more important because somebody else's life is involved. Of course, when you date, you should never forget that as a male, you have a basically aggressive instinct. You're built to pursue the female. And the question is, how far do you go? Should you let go to the animal urge for conquest? To go all the way? Or do you recognize that you have to control things before they get to the point where they can't be stopped? And there is that point. You have to realize, too, that girls also have sex drives. A girl may want to be attracted to you, but she may not realize how much the way she dresses and behaves excites you sexually. And she's not as easily aroused, and she usually doesn't think of sex in terms of a one-night stand. She thinks in terms of a longer relationship, with tenderness, affection, and love. If you feed her emotional needs without any serious intent, you can take advantage of her. But you can't do it without feeling a sense of guilt. because you've deceived her. Really, dating is an important and a very natural relationship between unmarried men and women, basic to the human biological urge to look for a mate. It's the best way to meet different kinds of girls and to evaluate them as possible mates and let them evaluate you. Now, dating different girls is just the first step. Later on, you court one girl, then marriage and children, and raising them in a family environment. This is the road that can lead you to an emotional and physical relationship that can endure for years and years. It's what most men strive for. But it can all be shattered in one single action. In one single moment.
I thought you told me you loved me.
I do, Bill. You know I do.
What's the matter then?
It's just
you really don't, huh?
Oh, Bill. I do. I really do.
Then show me.
$1970. Wow. This one threw you guys for a loop. You thought it was going to be one film, and then it became another film, and then it went back to be that first film again. Such a great film, though. Oh boy, so good. All right, I got one last film to show. After this one rewinds, and then we're done. So December 15th is when I'm going to do the next streaming event. Some ideas were thrown out, like one about cold. Hanukkah was a good one, although unfortunately I don't really have enough content for a strong Hanukkah program. Cold, I could maybe do. It's a good challenge. I've done a show called Dag, That's Cold, and the first time I did it was in Houston, Texas in August, and it was so hot. It was gross, and I did it at this place, Aurora Picture Show, and originally we were trying to price out the cost of a snow machine. Like, supposedly that was something that they would do, is you could rent a snow machine and it would make a little patch of snow, but it was way too expensive. So what we did is we turned up the air conditioning, we served hot chocolate, I wore a toboggan, we put like batting, white kind of batting that goes inside of a comforter, and we had that on the rails outside of the space. Made it look like it snowed. And I showed films about snow. And it was fun. It was really good. So maybe I could do something like that, show a couple of films about cold. I don't know. Yeah, that last film, so great. I love it. I love these morality tales, especially when it's so ham-fisted. So ham-fisted. Bill is totally screwed, and he's haunted by his conscience. I guess, I don't know. His low-budget conscience, who's really another actor. Somebody pointed out, like, why didn't you just have the same actor doing both? It seems, but that costs too much. It takes too long to do that. And a good eye for spotting Richard Hurd. Is at the end, the chaplain, I believe. Lays on the heavy message at the end. All right, this last film was meant to be shown to people in the Army that were about to muster out, meaning they were about to serve their term in service and were going to leave. And this film was meant to encourage them to re-enlist, to continue for another term, maybe even make a career out of the military. It is animated by Chuck Jones, and the reason this film is interesting is it features Ralphie, which is a Warner Brothers character. Does anybody remember who Ralphie is? I'll give you a sec to kind of think about it, chime in. Ralphie was a Chuck Jones character who was a little boy who had a vivid imagination and was always daydreaming in school and was always getting in trouble. And this film features Ralphie as a young adult. He didn't really daydream, although, it is called 90-Day Wondering, so there is this kind of thinking ahead. I don't know, there's a weird connection there. But it's a very odd film. It was never distributed, obviously, and shown on television. This was meant specifically for the Army and about the benefits of re-enlisting. So I'm happy to show it to you. And this is why I collect, is these odd little niche things that kind of show up that continue something that I remember seeing as a kid. I remember those Ralphie cartoons. Those were really great. So here's 90-Day Wondering.
Well, I guess I'll drift down to the old sugar bowl and scare up the old gang. Okay? Okay. Hey, gang! Old Ralphie's back! Sheesh. Old Ralphie. Hello, Maisie?
Mommy, Amanda wants to talk to you.
Hello, Hazel? What? Hello, Jeanette?
Sorry, I get this.
Married? Hi, Barbara.
Sorry, I get this.
Going out with your mother-in-law. Linda? Grandma? Hello, Betty? No. Marge? Husband? What's wrong, anyway? Everything seems different. I wonder what my old GI buddies are doing. I wonder if I ought to reenlist.
Don't say it! Don't even think it! You're too smart, Ralphie boy. Got it right? And besides, I'm here to help you. You ain't got no more troubles. Here, hold this. Now, I just happen to have here... Now then, let's get some sense into that boyish head of yours. Now, first thing you gotta do is... Look, Ralphie, ignore this joker. He's in the pay of you-know-who. Here, give me a drag off that thing. All we want is the facts, man. Facts, eh? I'll fax you, Buster. This is what the average civilian in your age bracket earns a month. You may fire when ready, Grizzly. Need I say more? That's over $100 difference. Plus family allowances, of course, and automatic raises, and foreign service pay, and promotions. Sure, but look what you gotta do for all that dough. Slosh around in the mud all day. And you can pick your career before you re-enlist. Re-enlist? Are you nuts? We ain't re-enlisting in nothing. We don't want to look like no toy soldier. Look at these civilian clothes. Sharp, eh? Yeah, like I say. But we're gonna work our way through school nights. Study up. Be a big shot. While in service, of course. Don't be taken in, kid. We'll get ourselves a good job. 2 weeks vacation every year at good old Lake Morsey Log. In the Army, that is. So what? Who wants to live in a barracks all your life? Stick with me, kid. We'll live in luxury. Government insured, of course. Okay, wise guy. Retirement. In the Army. Or... Don't listen to him! We'll strike uranium in your backyard! We can invent something! Dehydrated water! Just add water! And with that fat bonus, too.
Holy cow!
Come on, hurry up! We'll inherit Fort Knox! We'll strike! We'll invent the wheel! Come on, hurry up! Come on, get the lead out! Step on it! Step on it! Come on! Hurry up! Hurry up! Hey! Wait for me! Hurry up! 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 Hurry
That kind of just ended like that. Anyways, there it is. 90 Day Wondering. Re-upping. Thanks everybody for coming out. For tuning in. I have different metaphors to thank people, and I appreciate you coming to my space, in my brain space, and watching the films. So I'm kind of trying to formulate based on some ideas. Ice, cold. Maybe. We'll see. We'll see. But it's going to be December 15th, so tune in, and I'll kind of think it through a little bit. I was looking through my database to see what I could find. If you're in the area, there are upcoming events for AV Geeks. I'm doing a screening at King's called Your Big Fat Mouth. Showing films about your mouth, including teeth, tongue, etc. Then, what else am I doing? Doing something at this, the North Carolina Museum of Art on December 1st. Doing films about race, including amazing film Felicia Rorivas Talks About Worms, etc. Then I'm doing a 16mm adventure show where you pick your path. It was originally called Choose Your Own 16mm Adventure, but we got a cease and desist from the Choose Your Own Adventure book people. They said that that was their trademark, and they would appreciate that we change the name because people will be confused. So we changed it. I was like, what do we call it? Pick your path. I don't know. Anyways, it'll be if you're in Raleigh, it's at King's, and it's you can look on Facebook at AV Geeks, and you can get the calendar of events. But you get to, I'll bring a bunch of films. Some I've seen, some I haven't seen, and I'll let the audience pick titles. So it'll be your fault if you pick something that's not good. Again, if you like what you saw, go to avgeeks.com. You can buy DVDs. AV Geeks DVDs make great holiday gifts. Or you can go to Patreon and donate a little bit. And that money will be spent on acquiring new films. And like I said, there is potentially 2,000 new films in our horizon that we have to figure out how we're going to get and where we're going to put and what we're going to do with. I've got a chance to look at some of the title in the catalog, and they look pretty great. So I'm excited about that. Everybody have a good rest of the month. A good Thanksgiving if that's you celebrate that, etc., etc. But happy Veterans Day, and thank a vet for sacrificing, giving up their youth. Yes. Good night, and we will see you soon. Bye.